We are continuing with breaking news coverage from the Deltopia street party that has turned into an unlawful assembly. And we have chaos in Isla Vista right now. We have our news videographer, Derek Olson. Now, Derek, you said that you can actually smell and taste pepper spray. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was standing in the crowd. There were a lot of bottles and bricks flying in the air in the direction of the police, hitting law enforcement and hitting protesters. Or rioters, I suppose. And the police responded with tear gas. It came in a big cloud. You could see it. And before the cloud hit me, my eyes started watering, my nose started burning. I had an awful, horrible burning sensation in my mouth. And it persisted for probably about 10 minutes before I was able to really fully function again. I've also seen rubber bullets being used. I actually saw a person get hit by one and he picked it up. There have been flashbang grenades, and there's also a helicopter. So law enforcement really is not messing around here, and people are starting to clear out now. But I mean, it's just in a state of chaos right now.
And Derek, even with that pepper spray, there are still people out there. It's not affecting everyone.
No, well, I think it's affected everyone. I'd challenge someone to stand in this cloud and not be affected. But there's people here who just care more about being here and rioting than the pepper spray.
Now, Derek, are they saying anything? Are they chanting anything, or are they just standing out there?
Most of what they were chanting, I can't repeat on the air. It was about the police. They did start chanting USA at one point. Law enforcement has declared this an unlawful assembly over loudspeakers and advised everybody to leave. But, some people are heeding that warning. I mean, the crowd is definitely thinner here than it was when I arrived a few hours ago. But it's still far from being a resolved situation.
Now, Derek, we're seeing the stop signs being pulled up from the ground. Did you see any people pull those up, or were those already out of the cement when you got there?
No, I saw all of that. I've seen about 5 stop signs pulled out. One of the stop signs, in fact, the first stop sign I saw was actually used as a tool to destroy a minivan. Students, or I shouldn't even say students, the people here attempted to tip the minivan and were unsuccessful, so they just proceeded to break every window.
That minivan, is that the white one we're seeing? We have a shot of it on the right hand of our screen. They actually destroyed that with the stop signs.
With the stop signs, bricks, bottles, pretty much anything they could find.
Have you seen any law enforcement officers be hit with the bricks or bottles?
I have. There have been, I've seen 2 officers hit. I don't know how seriously they're injured. I also saw, this just such a chaotic situation. I've seen protesters hit. I mean, I think for a lot of these people who are engaging in this activity, they just throw it in the direction of the law enforcement and don't care where it goes. Protesters also started a mattress on fire, and I believe that has been put out at this point, but hold on one sec. They're making an announcement right now.
Okay, let us know what they say.
All right.
This is a live view from Isla Vista right now. We have Derek Olson, our news videographer, there on scene. And it sounds like law enforcement is going to be making an announcement. Derek, if you're there, have they said anything yet?
Yeah, they're advising that we need to clear the area. They're going to start sending in officers, actually. In fact, I'm just getting closer to get a better look at what's happening here. There's probably around 100 protesters at the intersection now of Trigo and Camino del Sur with the stop signs and the smash bed. And you can see down Camino del Sur, they've got the big assault-style vehicle there. And it's been slowly moving in, my direction north on Camino del Sur, clearing the area. But so I anticipate that they'll be coming through here with people soon.
Okay, and Derek, it's very dark for us to see. We do see the flashing lights of that emergency vehicle. How many officers are behind that vehicle? Can you tell?
You know, they put a very bright light on the top of the vehicle, which is effectively blinded the crowd here, myself included, from what's going on behind that vehicle. So it's really, it's been an interesting experience witnessing firsthand the techniques that law enforcement use with riot control. They've been using sonic, deterrence, I suppose, loud, sharp noises, flashbang grenades, and, I can only imagine the force that's pooling behind that.
Okay, Derek, stay with us. CJ Ward has just joined us here at News Channel 3 studios. CJ, have you seen anything like this?
I have never seen it. I've seen old film of the riots from the 70s when they burned down the Bank of America many, many years ago, but I've never seen anything like this. Been out at many Halloween parties where, they would get out of control a little bit, but nothing like this. Nothing where you see them literally shut down Isla Vista and have to call in the SWAT team and the dogs, and this is just crazy to see this that's going on right now. I did talk probably about 10 minutes ago to Mike Eliason over at the county fire. And I don't know, has he called in yet? He said the county fire was going to call in.
We've spoken with Kelly Hoover from the Sheriff's Department. Okay. We've spoken to an Isla Vista resident, Montana McLaughlin, who's actually hiding out in a garage right now with 10 other people because they can't get to their houses because the streets have been shut down. We have not heard from County Fire yet. We did hear that they're telling people not to go into Isla Vista. Well,
from talking to Mike Eliason, he said they have been told to just stay out. County fire officials are staying out. Now, the danger with that is if there are people in there that are hurt, we're not going to know about it, and they're not going to get the help they need at this point. We've also been told that the Sheriff's Department is about to bring in canines to help try and bring the situation under control. And the canines are from Ventura, is that my understanding? Okay, so the canines are actually from Ventura. Okay. They're bringing them up. So I would imagine there's help from every law enforcement agency in the area converging on Isla Vista right now. And you get imagine that behind the lines that we see there, they're getting prepped. I know SWAT is on scene as well, and I'm not sure if that's who we see far in the background there, but it's possible when we start to see the helmets move in.
Right, which they haven't done yet. They've actually been staying behind that vehicle right now with the lights on. Derek was saying that it looks like they're going to be moving in soon, but so far, the past 40 minutes, they have not moved past that spot.
And I'm not sure if you look between the two stop signs there, I think you can see them lined up in the back. You can see them preparing. Yeah, you can see the helmets in the background. They are probably getting ready to move in. They'll probably give a few warnings before they actually do, hoping this crowd will disperse, and hopefully it'll end quietly, at least as quiet as it can at this point.
And again, how this started with an officer with a head injury, a UCPD officer with a head injury, either from a flying bottle or brick. And then another officer with a head injury, and then one with a hand injury. Now, that's only 3. That happened earlier today, but as Derek said, he saw officers getting hit with bottles and bricks as he's been standing there right now.
And this started with a stabbing, probably about 10 o'clock tonight. Is that what you're hearing as well?
We did hear that there were at least 2 stabbings, but right now, because of this chaos, that's really gone to the wayside right now. We haven't heard a whole lot about that.
Well, what I was hearing was that there was a stabbing. Law enforcement responded to that, and that's when the incident with the bottles and the rocks started. And that was, what, about 10 o'clock tonight? Is that what you're hearing?
That's right.
Okay.
And it sounds like we do have Mike Eliason on the phone with Santa Barbara County Fire Department. Yeah. Mike, are you out there right now?
Mike, can you hear us?
Okay, we hear something, but
it may be loud out there. He may not be able to hear us very well, but.
And it looks like that crowd is starting to gather again. It had dispersed. It looks like they're coming back a little bit. We're seeing people on bikes.
Have we heard how many people they estimate are out there right now? 15,000, okay.
15,000. What we did hear was that, from Derek, is that the crowd dwindled down right here, just right here. This is throughout Isla Vista, but just right here down to a couple hundred. And I'm not sure exactly if if it's growing or if it's getting smaller. We can't tell right now.
Mike, can you hear us? Mike Eliason, County Fire. Can you hear us on the phone?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Good. All right. Yes. Thank you for joining us. So what do you know at this point? When we spoke on the phone about 15 minutes ago, you told me that County Fire was told to just get out of that area just to be safe.
That's correct. We have several teams, several two-person paramedic firefighter teams that have been working the area all day today. I was out there with them earlier today. We have two-person teams on foot in the 66 and 6700 blocks of Playa, and we also have one two-person team that's in a vehicle that roams the area on Sabato Tarde. Those crews have since been pulled back. It has been deemed too dangerous for them. They've fallen back into a safer posture, and they're awaiting further instruction.
So if it's fair to say that if somebody is injured in the middle of that mess, they might not get the medical help they need.
That's not necessarily true. We will go in there as best we can, depending upon the conditions, but we're not going to put our people in any risk for any danger for them. But
yeah, Mike, real quick, we just saw some punches being thrown right now in front of the police officers. It looks like that's stopped, but some punches just between the people right there, not even between law enforcement officers, but between two of the people on the street right there. Mike, I saw some of your pictures from during the daytime in Isla Vista from Playa, and the crowds were pretty big.
Yes, there was a large crowd there. It was about on par from what was there last year when I was out there as well. We did have some crews earlier on. They were working a medical call in the 6600 block or 6500 block of Playa. It was a broken leg, and they began to take bottles and rocks. And fire crews seeked shelter and awaited an armed response from the Sheriff's Department to help escort them out along with search and rescue.
Mike, you've been doing this a long time. Have you seen anything like this before?
I've been going to these events for about 28 years now, and this is one of the worst examples of civil unrest that I've seen.
I was talking before about, I haven't seen anything this bad, but we've heard for years the stories have been the 1970s when they burned down the Bank of America building. This obviously I don't think has reached that level. We haven't seen any buildings burned, but obviously this is just out of control in Isla Vista, and you haven't seen anything like this in all these years.
I have not. We have had several little fires, some couches, some mattresses that we deemed that they weren't going to go anywhere. We let them just burn themselves out. We weren't going to put the crews in any danger at that point because the law enforcement was tied up with this situation, and we couldn't get an escort in to put out the fire. But hopefully none of these other fires will escalate. The sheriffs and the law enforcement are doing a tremendous job trying to squelch all this unrest out there, and I'm hopeful that all this will come to a conclusion shortly.
Now, Mike, you've been pulled out of Isla Vista. Are you on the outskirts waiting in case you need to be called back in?
Yes, the crews have been pulled back to a safe location. They're still aware of all the medical calls that are going on, and when there is a medical call, they will take each medical call individually and determine if it is safe for those crews to enter the area. They will try and do so with an armed escort and try and render aid as quickly as possible.
Have you been able to go in with armed escorts since you've been pulled back? Has the need been there for you to go in?
There has been several calls. We've had about 40 calls so far today within that two-block area, Sabato Tarde, Playa, and roughly a little over 50 medical calls in the whole Isla Vista area today. We're looking at the fixtures today. You can see that those numbers will probably definitely go up. But the crews, our fire crews, are being staged in a safe location, and when they will go in and help the people, but it's just a matter of time that they're going to go in there, and they're going to go in there safely to do their job.
I would imagine most of the calls you've been on today, alcohol-related in some way, shape, or form?
It's been run the gamut, mostly from intoxicated individuals to a broken leg to a broken ankle, several different calls.
How does somebody break a leg? Jump off a balcony or something like that?
Yeah, I can't. I'm not one to speculate on that. It could have been anything. Could have fallen off of a vehicle. Could have fallen somewhere. But there was some definite sudden acceleration involved.
Yeah, we saw some of that last year. People actually jumping on cars and actually falling through the windshields of cars. We saw much of that last year. Yeah. So that could have happened again this year, just from what we saw in years past.
The bottom line, though, it sounds like alcohol is playing a major part in this. No surprise there. When you've been out at Halloween year after year, and anytime there's a big party out there, it's alcohol always plays a role in it. Looks like we've probably seen the same people in this intersection here, holding the stop signs and kind of controlling things.
Same people, they haven't changed. There's a guy right there with his shirt off, and then another guy with his back towards the lights right there. They're kind of moving in and out, but this is different from maybe about a half hour ago when you could not see any street. It was covered with people.
So people are leaving.
People are leaving, definitely are leaving since the top of the hour when we started covering this live in Isla Vista. The streets are clearing out. However, those stragglers right there, maybe about 50, if we can see right now, are still staying there. Derek Olson, our videographer, did say that the police officers made an announcement saying they were going to move forward. They have not done that yet. We're still waiting on that. They'll probably make another announcement. And I did speak with residents of Isla Vista a few days before Deltopia, the big street party, and they said they were expecting big crowds. They know this happens. Big crowds come to Isla Vista, including people not from the area, but also people who live in Isla Vista there, for this big street party that has lasted well into the evening.
Okay, so we still have Mike Eliason on the telephone. Mike, so what happens at this point for you guys?
Right now, we're still going to fall back and wait for the okay from law enforcement before we proceed back into the area. But we're just going to stay in this staged safe posture until we get clearance.
All right, Mike Eliason, Santa Barbara County Fire, thank you for joining us. I'm sure we're going to try and check in with you here in a bit just to see what has changed. Thanks again for joining us.
All right, thank you.
All right, again, we are live looking right now at, it looks like Camino del Sur. We have two videographers out there, and this is a live shot. We can see a crowd of maybe about 50 that has definitely dwindled down since 11 o'clock tonight. Flashbang grenades and some pepper spray. We have video now. This is, we can go back to that video. This is what it looked like earlier today.
About 10:45 is what we're being told. This is the time, right about 10:45. This was the scene at the same intersection you just saw right there.
And you can see right there. And this is now, we couldn't tell what that was before. That was the stop sign banging into that white minivan, and there they are jumping on it. We didn't know what it was because there were so many people there. And then we saw the after effects of that minivan completely destroyed.
They're just ripping stuff apart, carrying it away.
There's a mattress. I believe that was the mattress that was lit on fire. And again, like Mike Eliason from the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's, Fire Department said, they just let that burn out. They're not even going in to deal with burning mattresses because it is too dangerous.
And again, this was about 1 hour ago, so things have changed. It appears they've improved at that intersection. Again, this is Trigo and Camino del Sur. This is the intersection of Trigo and Camino del Sur about 1 hour ago. Just absolute bedlam and chaos in Isla Vista tonight. We'll go back to a live picture here in a second. Kelly Hoover is joining us now. Kelly, can you hear us?
Kelly, can you hear us? Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, Kelly Hoover. Okay,
I think it's tough to hear out there, as I know Kelly's out there.
Yeah, she is out there.
There's that white minivan you were talking about on the right. That's what they were jumping on, smashing the windows out of.
So many people, we couldn't tell what that was. Again, residents are told to stay inside if you're in the Isla Vista area. If you are not, do not go to Isla Vista. Streets have been closed off. Del Playa has been closed off. This is Trigo and Camino del Sur, a live shot right now. As you can see, there's the lights of an emergency vehicle. There are law enforcement officers behind there. We don't know exactly how many. CJ, we did see a glimpse of some helmets.
Yeah, you could tell probably SWAT team getting ready, what they call staging. They're staging back there. They got the helmets on and
armored vehicles.
Organizing. Yep, they got the armored vehicles back there and just probably coming up with a game plan, what they're going to do and when they're going to do it.
And it sounds like we have Kelly Hoover with the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office. Kelly, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell us an update on what's going on out there?
Well, there's not much of an update. It's still pretty much what I told you last time when I checked in. We're still trying to gain control of this unruly crowd. At this point, it looked like we were doing better with getting a handle on it, and it's having another flare-up, it looks like, of more people throwing rocks and bottles at law enforcement.
Now, it looked like from an hour ago, it looks like the crowd is much less. However, from our perspective, they could have just backed up a little bit and they could still be there. I mean, are there fewer people there right now, or is it still a large crowd? They're just not in our frame of view.
CJ, you're accurate. The crowd did seem to lessen for a short period, and then it does look like it is kind of flaring back up again.
So I would imagine if you've got some officers, sheriff's deputies staging right now before they move in, are they hoping that the crowd will disperse?
Yes, I mean,
soon?
What we really want is everyone to go home and for this to be over. But yes, right now we've got Ventura County Sheriff's Office on their way to help us. We have Santa Maria PD here. We have CHP, Santa Barbara PD, UCSB Police, Lompoc. We have our special enforcement team. Really, we're all just bringing in as much resources as we can to join forces and gain control over the situation.
And are we seeing more tear gas? Is that what we're seeing right now?
You know, I'm not quite sure exactly what tactics are being used. I know they're doing whatever they can. That, you know, is obviously not life-threatening type of tactics in order to gain control of the situation and protect life and property.
Now, Kelly, right now we have a view of Trigo and Camino del Sur. Is this mainly where the incident is happening, or is it spread to different areas of Isla Vista?
It does seem that is the concentrated area. There may be other problem areas, but that does seem to be the focus right now.
Can you give us a recap? Injuries? I know at least one deputy has been hurt. How many other people? How many law enforcement personnel have been hurt? How many people have been hurt?
Total right now, we know of 3 that have received injuries during this evening. One it's how the whole thing started. It was around 9:30 tonight. We had a UCSB police officer who received a head injury, and after that's when the situation escalated into this civil unrest.
And how
situation.
exactly did this escalate? Were more law enforcement came in to help, and then people got unruly? How did this escalate from one officer being injured to this unrest that we're seeing right now?
You know, I wish I could tell you that. It turned chaotic quickly. It just started off with somehow one of the law enforcement officer was injured, and then that drew a crowd, and then from there it just escalated. And that's something that, you know, we saw a few weeks ago. It's almost like if when something starts, it can draw a crowd, and then it just kind of snowballs from there. And that's why law enforcement are so strict here about stopping problems before they start. And when they see somebody starting to incite a riot, we had last night someone climb up onto a stop sign and attempt to try and rile the crowd. And that's why we try and stop those things right away so that it doesn't turn into something like this.
End up with a mob mentality, in which what we're seeing right here. How was that officer doing? How is that officer doing right now?
You know, I do not know. I know he received a head injury, and then soon after we had a Lompoc police officer also receive a head injury. And then later this evening, most recently, we had a Santa Barbara County Sheriff's deputy receive an injury to his hand, and that was either from a rock or a bottle that somebody threw at him.
Okay, Kelly, we are getting word right now, getting information on my phone. 20 units from Ventura County are heading up to Isla Vista right now. 20 units. Now, we already knew that about 100 officers and deputies were going to Isla Vista for this party during the day, and now more officers are heading in because of this unrest. Any total amount right now? I know you said earlier that people who were off pouring in to help in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've seen people. I'm in the Isla Vista Foot Patrol, and you know, you can see people coming in the door, and they were. There was one lieutenant that he was barbecuing for everybody earlier and wasn't planning to be working, and he's put on his uniform and is working, and you're seeing people just coming in that weren't planning to be here today that just want to help. Everybody wants to see this situation be over.
And just so viewers know, that barbecue, not for a party, but because they feed the deputies and officers while they're there, because they do put in a 12 to 18-hour day because of this party.
Yes. Thank you, Victoria, for saying that. Yes, it's a long day, and it's just a way to stay hydrated and give them. It's volunteers that come in and do that on their volunteer time to do that, to make sure everybody's fed and has energy to make it through. And good thing they did, especially with the night.